I lied to escape a life of gold, and he married the lie. You think you married a poor girl? I built companies while you were still chasing your MBA. That's what she whispered on their wedding night, not out of cruelty, but because the truth was finally too loud to hide. 3 months earlier, she wore muddy sandals and carried fish from the wet market. Now, she was married to one of the most powerful CEOs in Asia. But what no one knew was that she was worth more than he was. She just didn't want to be seen. If you find value in real stories told with clarity and truth, make sure to subscribe to stay informed with Left Woman Loud. Present, the reveal. He stood frozen in the penthouse, wedding band still warm on his finger. Wait, what do you mean you're not just a vendor's daughter? She took a slow breath. Her eyes didn't flinch. I mean, I have a legacy bigger than your boardroom, and I walked away from it, until now. Flashback. The escape from luxury. Her name was Anastasia Lee Zhang, heir to Zhang Global, a $14 billion empire. Private jets, international schools, diamonds by 16. But all she ever wanted was to be unknown. So one day, she vanished. No bodyguards, no press, just a one-way ticket to a fishing village with no signal and no last name. That's where she met him. Enter CEO rivals. Lucas Kin was scouting rural supply chains for his tech food startup. Ambitious, cold, problem solver. He came to cut deals, not fall for barefoot women with sharp tongues. But Anna, now going by Ling, challenged him, mocked his city clothes, outsold his team at the market, and then saved his life during a street flood. He couldn't stop thinking about her, and she never stopped pretending she didn't know who he really was either. The deception deepened. She faked paperwork, a fake last name, lived in a rented shack and worked at the docks, not for fun, for freedom. Lucas, oblivious, thought he had discovered a rare, authentic girl untouched by wealth, and so he fell hard. He proposed in front of the whole village. One rainy night, drenched and furious, she shouted at him in public, "I'm not your fantasy, Lucas." He dropped to one knee anyway. "I don't care who you were, just don't leave me." And just like that, she said yes. But what he didn't know was their wedding was about to make front-page headlines because her past was hunting her down. You should have stayed gone, Anastasia. That voice, calm, venomous, and unmistakably upper crust, pierced through the wedding hall just as the couple finished their vows. Lucas turned first, then Anna. And there, standing at the back of the crowd in a black suit and no invitation, was the one man she hoped never to see again, her older brother, Victor Zhang. The past never dies quietly. Victor had ruled the Zhang dynasty since her father's stroke 2 years ago, cold, calculating, heir by birth, heartless by design. Anna had been next in line until she disappeared, forfeiting her role, her rights, her name, or so she thought. Victor held up a tablet. On it, an article scheduled to publish in 2 hours. Headline, "Missing Heiress Marries Village CEO in Secret Ceremony." You didn't just run away, Anna. You declared war. Lucas wasn't just shocked, he felt used. He didn't say a word on the drive back from the ceremony. Not during the silence, not after the guests fled, not even when Anna tried to explain. "I needed to escape," she whispered. "I didn't lie to hurt you. I lied to survive." He stared at her. "You let me fall in love with someone who didn't exist." "No, I let you fall in love with someone you never would have looked at if you knew the truth." That stung more than any confession. The Zhang empire reacts. Within 48 hours, their faces were everywhere. Front page, prime time, finance columns, gossip blogs. The hidden heiress who married her competition. Billionaire princess goes rogue. Victor launched a PR offensive. He painted Anna as unstable, irresponsible, dangerous to shareholders. And Lucas, he was offered a deal. "Annul the marriage," Victor said over a private call, "and I'll invest $20 million in your company." Lucas didn't answer, but Anna heard enough to pack her bags. A flight and a decision. Anna tried to run again. She booked a ticket to Cambodia under another fake name. But this time, Lucas stopped her. He caught her at the gate, breathless. "You don't get to leave twice. I thought you didn't want to be part of my world," she said. "I don't. I want to change it with you." But when they got back, the company was gone. Lucas's office had been cleaned out, servers erased, contracts pulled, investors gone. Victor hadn't just retaliated through words. He used Anna's marriage to destroy Lucas's company from the inside. A final message was scrawled across the whiteboard in Lucas's office. "You married my sister. That means you declared war on me. You want to play poor, Anna? Then starve like one." That's what Victor said in the last voicemail he ever left her. Every account tied to her name was frozen. Lucas's company was pulled from every investor directory. Vendors refused his calls, and his former board members ghosted him overnight. Victor had poisoned the well with a smile, and he did it to prove one thing. Bloodlines may run thick, but his control ran thicker. Then she remembered the diamond earrings her grandmother smuggled to her before her escape, hidden inside a stitched seam of a torn jacket. Rare, vintage, royal cut, illegally acquired by the Zhangs during a political regime change decades ago. She took them to an underground collector, got $500,000 in cash, no questions asked. And with that, she and Lucas rebuilt. They started from scratch and built faster. They found an abandoned seafood warehouse on the edge of the port, leased it anonymously. Anna used her insider knowledge of distribution fraud within Zhang Global to map out a better supply chain. Lucas recoded his entire app with end-to-end local tracking. They bypassed the Zhang monopoly entirely. They didn't want revenge. They wanted independence. And customers noticed, fast. The first real win. Within a month, 50 restaurants had signed exclusive contracts with their new platform. Anna stood in rubber boots, fish guts on her sleeves, signing deals on a folding table with a $10 pen. She smiled at Lucas. "This is better than boardrooms." He grinned back. "You're the richest broke girl I've ever loved." But success comes at a price. Victor found out. A message was delivered with a crushed phone and a broken seafood knife. "You can run your little rebellion, but I still own your name." Victor's legal team had applied for full image rights over Anna's name, brand, and likeness. If the court granted it, Anna would legally lose the right to use her own identity in business. She didn't just have to win in the market. She had to win in court, against her own last name. "You might own the company, Victor, but you'll never own me." Anna said it calmly, publicly, in front of cameras, journalists, and the judge presiding over the most surreal case in corporate history, Zhang Global versus Anastasia Li Zhang. The lawsuit wasn't just a slap in the face. It was a full-blown identity theft in legal costume. Victor claimed that Anna's, quote, unauthorized use of her name and likeness posed reputational damage to the brand. And in doing so, he turned his own sister into public enemy number one. She showed up to court unrecognizable, not because she was hiding, but because she was finally seen. Anna walked into the courtroom in a hand-stitched aozai, her face bare except for the thin red line her mother once wore before giving testimony in the Tianhe labor trials, the day she helped convict the man who killed her parents. It wasn't makeup, it was memory and power. She carried no purse, no assistant, no designer briefcase, just a folder of truth. And Lucas beside her. The legal arguments were brutal. Victor's lawyers argued that Anna had abandoned her identity when she left the Zhang family. They said the brand invested millions into curating her image for philanthropic campaigns and business deals. She is no longer a person. She is a corporate asset, one attorney insisted. Lucas scoffed. So we're slaves. You want to bring that back too? The judge warned him. Anna didn't flinch. The testimony that turned heads. Anna took the stand with a quiet that shook the room. I didn't abandon my name. I abandoned what you turned it into. She pulled out photos. Girls in Zhang-funded schools whose scholarships disappeared after her departure. Farmers forced off land by a real estate shell company her brother controlled. A letter from their father, dated months before his stroke, where he called Anna the only one who still remembers we came from rice fields, not Rolexes. And then she dropped the bomb. The video. A short, 23-second clip. Victor's voice laughing during a board dinner. Anna's face sells better than mine, so we'll just slap it on everything and tell the media she approved. What's she gonna do? Sue us with fish money? The room went silent. Victor turned pale. The judge leaned forward. The verdict won't come today, but the court of public opinion just did. Outside, reporters flooded Anna for comments. She said nothing. But online, everything exploded. Hashtag let her be Anna. Hashtag Zhang versus Zhang. Hashtag own your face. Investors began pulling from Zhang Global. News anchors dissected Victor's downfall in real time. And Lucas? He simply took Anna's hand and whispered, "This revolution of yours, it's working." 50 million. Cash. Walk away from him. Walk away from this. And I'll make all of it disappear. He said it like a man offering mercy, not blackmail. Like he was doing her a favor. But Anna didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Didn't even smile. She just stared across the mahogany desk, one hand on Lucas's contract, the other on her mother's jade ring. "Tell me, Victor," she asked, voice cool, "what do you think I haven't already survived?" The deal behind closed doors. Victor had summoned her to the Zhang penthouse for the first time in nearly 2 years. No lawyers, no press, no siblings, just them. On the table was a bank transfer sheet for $50 million, a draft annulment, and a non-disclosure clause with more red ink than any document should ever have. You can start over, go back to anonymity, build your little fish empire and leave the Zhang name behind. But what he didn't realize was that Anna already had. She took the offer and then she shredded it. She stood, picked up the envelope, folded it once, and tore it into pieces. This isn't about money. This is about what money never gave me. Dignity. And you still don't know the price of that. She walked out of the penthouse without looking back, but not before leaving a flash drive on his bookshelf. On it, the full list of Victor's offshore accounts, hidden under shell corporations. One copy to him, the other sent to every investigative journalist in East Asia. Victor's world started to crack.
The next morning, Zhang Global stock dropped 12%. 3 whistleblowers came forward, and a senator's son resigned over a bribery link to one of Victor's dummy charities. Victor's name wasn't just trending, it was sinking. They celebrated by making soup. Anna and Lucas didn't go to a Michelin-starred restaurant. They didn't post a victory selfie. They went back to the seafood warehouse. Lucas chopped onions, Anna filleted grouper, and together they made a steaming pot of tamarind broth for the migrant workers who helped build their operation from the ground up. Lucas lifted his spoon. "To love born from lies," he said. Anna smiled. "No," she whispered, "to truth, the kind we have to fight for." There's a warrant for Victor's arrest, but he's gone. Interpol issued a notice. The Chinese regulatory board froze 3 of Zong Global's accounts, but when agents arrived at Victor's residence, he was gone. No passport records, no private jet logs, just a single note on his desk. She was never meant to win. And next to it, an old childhood photo of him and Anna smiling in a rice field before the money changed everything. Those words came in a letter, hand-delivered by a courier in an unmarked suit. Inside was a flash drive. No label, no context, just a warning. Lucas wanted to destroy it. Anna insisted on opening it. And what they found wasn't just a threat, it was a time bomb. The file that shouldn't exist. The flash drive contained a detailed forensic audit, not of Zong Global, but of Anna and Lucas's new company. Purchase logs, bank transfers, employee records, including one damning transaction. A vendor they had unknowingly contracted was a shell company owned by Victor, registered under a false name in the Cayman Islands. It meant their revolutionary new app, their entire seafood traceability system, was now legally compromised. The trap had been set months ago. Victor hadn't just tried to destroy Anna, he had built himself into her new empire, so that if she rose too high, he could pull the plug from the inside. Any investor who discovered the connection could sue. Government regulators could shut them down. The media could brand them as frauds. Anna stared at the screen, numb. She had built something from nothing, and he had buried a ghost in its foundation. The clock was ticking. They had 72 hours before their next investor pitch, one that could expand them internationally. But if the leak got out before they cleaned it, they'd be finished. Lucas paced the warehouse floor. Anna stood still. And then she whispered, maybe this ends how it started, with a lie. Her plan, burn him out publicly. She called a press conference, not to hide the connection, but to expose it before Victor could. Live on air, she displayed the audit, confessed that one line item was connected to a Zong shell company, and then revealed a secret clause in their vendor contracts. Every supplier was subject to random integrity audits and termination if linked to illegal activity. She terminated the contract, on camera, and the crowd erupted in applause. Victor's final game failed. Reporters hailed her as fearless. Regulators praised her transparency. And within 48 hours, her company raised $7.5 million from ethical investors. Victor's name was now synonymous with fraud. And Anna? She was the face of corporate integrity, the girl who walked away from billions to build something clean. But then an email arrived from a place neither of them expected. Subject line, regarding Victor Zong, urgent. Sender, Interpol, Nairobi Division. Body, we believe your brother is attempting to purchase diplomatic asylum using stolen Zong Global assets. We require your cooperation. Attached was a surveillance photo. Victor, in Kenya, standing beside a foreign minister. And next to him, a child who looked eerily like Anna. She has your smile, Lucas whispered, staring at the photo. But Anna wasn't breathing. She was staring too, at the little girl, maybe 5 years old, holding Victor's hand at the Nairobi airport, at the curls, the cheekbones, the exact same birthmark under her left eye that Anna had carried since birth. And then she saw the name on the file: Aurelia Lee Zong. A past she never knew she lost. Anna collapsed into the chair, trembling, not with fear, but with memory. 6 years ago, during her last year at Stanford, Anna had blacked out after being drugged at a Zong shareholder gala. She'd woken up in a hospital. No explanation, no follow-up. Patrice, her aunt, and the Zong matriarch had told her she'd had food poisoning. Victor had her moved abroad immediately. Anna had questioned it, but then forgot, or rather, forced herself to forget. The impossible possibility. Could they have taken her child? Could she have been pregnant without knowing? The thought was insane, unbelievable, impossible. And yet, there was Aurelia, with her face, with her name. A birth certificate that didn't belong to her. Interpol attached the documents. Birth certificate issued in Singapore. Mother, Anastasia L. Zong. Father, name withheld by court order. But Anna never signed anything, never knew anything, which meant someone forged it, likely Patrice, possibly Victor. And now Aurelia was being used as a pawn in a billion-dollar negotiation for asylum. The rage that replaced shock. Anna stood up. The woman who once ran from wealth and power now reclaimed it, fiercely, publicly. "I don't care about the Zong name anymore," she told Lucas. "I care about my daughter." They booked the flight that night to Nairobi. No press, no lawyers, just truth and war. The confrontation at the embassy. Interpol coordinated the sting. Anna was escorted to the diplomatic compound by plainclothes officers. Lucas waited in a van outside. Victor was already inside, negotiating a bribe deal with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And Aurelia was in the next room playing with crayons. Anna stepped in. Victor turned and froze. "She doesn't know who you are. And if you touch her, I'll make sure she never finds out."
Anna didn't blink, didn't cry, didn't scream. She simply said, "You don't get to keep what never belonged to you." And then the doors opened. Interpol entered. Victor didn't run. He didn't need to, because Aurelia looked at Anna and whispered, "Are you the lady from my dreams?" "I don't want to hope. Hope hurts more than lies." That's what Anna whispered into the silence of the Interpol waiting room as the test was processed. She had held Aurelia's hand, braided her hair, listened to her favorite song on loop, a Mandarin lullaby Anna's mother used to sing. Every instinct told her, "This is my child." But instinct had betrayed her before. So she waited, in fear, in stillness. And when the officer returned with the envelope, she almost couldn't open it. The results. Lucas read them first. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he handed her the page with trembling fingers. Probability of maternity, 99.998%. Subject A, Anna L. Zhang. Subject B, Aurelia L. Zhang. Anna dropped to her knees, not from shock, not from grief, but from a kind of joy that came with equal weight in rage. She'd been a mother, and never knew. They had taken her child, raised her in secret, used her as leverage, and given her back only when it was convenient for Victor's escape. It wasn't just a crime, it was a violation beyond words. And now, Anna had a decision to make. Aurelia didn't know the truth. The little girl only knew that the woman in the blue dress smelled like home, that her voice felt like safety, that her eyes matched her own. Anna didn't tell her, not yet. She played puzzles with her, brushed her teeth, tucked her into bed. And when Aurelia reached out and whispered, "I want to stay with you," Anna whispered back, "You always have." Victor's final move failed. Interpol refused to release him. The Singaporean government opened a criminal investigation. The United Nations filed a rights violation complaint on Anna's behalf. And the Zhang Empire, it collapsed in under 14 weeks. Stock delisted, assets frozen, charities disbanded. Victor's attempt to erase Anna ended in the erasure of everything he tried to control. But justice wasn't enough. Anna didn't want revenge anymore. She wanted repair, and that began with truth. She held a press conference with Aurelia beside her. No makeup, no branding, just a mother and daughter, hand in hand. "I was lied to. My child was taken. But I'm not telling this story for sympathy. I'm telling it so no one else has to be silent when the powerful steal what can't be bought." And then Anna looked at Aurelia and said the words no child should have to wait years to hear. "I am your mother, and I will never leave you again." Everything I lost, I found again in her eyes. That's what Anna told the crowd on opening day of Aurelia Market, a women-run, equity-first digital marketplace born from broken systems, built for healing. It wasn't just a business, it was a promise that no one would own her name again, that her daughter would grow up knowing the difference between legacy and love, and that freedom, real freedom, isn't about running away. It's about building something that can't be taken. A new life, a new name. Anna legally reclaimed her identity, but she did more than that. She gave her daughter the middle name Truth, not because she needed to remember what happened, but to remind the world of what she refused to let go silent. Aurelia Truth Zhang. A name carried on documents, yes, but more importantly, in every story Anna told to young girls at workshops, to boardrooms, and to survivors. Lucas never left. He became Aurelia's father in every way that mattered. He never asked Anna to forget what she went through. He simply stood beside her, quietly, fiercely, building warehouses, coding platforms, putting every dollar into their vision. One day, Aurelia asked, "Did you always love Mommy?" Lucas smiled. "No," he said. "At first, I loved a lie. Then I fell in love with the woman brave enough to live beyond it." The empire reborn. Aurelia Market grew faster than any startup in Southeast Asia. Run by women, built for the marginalized, funded by truth, not bloodlines. And Anna, she never returned to the Zhang mansion, but she kept one thing from it. A photo of her and Victor as kids in the rice fields, before the power, before the lies. She hung it on the wall of her office with one note scribbled beneath. "May we never forget who we were before the world told us what to be. Mother and daughter at dawn." It's early. The morning mist curls over the dock where Anna once sold fish under a fake name. Now she watches her daughter toss stones into the water, barefoot, laughing. Aurelia turns and asks, "Were you ever scared, Mommy?" Anna kneels, brushes a strand of hair from her face. "All the time," she says. "But I learned something stronger than fear." "What?" "Truth. And you. I gave up everything to become no one. And somehow that's exactly how I became everything she'll ever need."